Welcome back to Gen X Rewatch. Today we're going to do a part 3 of Zelda. I've gotten a little bit into it. I've streamed the first and second parts. The second one I didn't do voice. This one I'm going to do voice again just to talk about Zelda again and gaming for Gen Xers. I'll probably repeat a lot of the conversation just because, not a lot of people are watching the streams and most people who see this probably be new anyways. But, I'm doing this for the 40th anniversary of Zelda as an older Gen X. I was 13 when this came out. Got the Nintendo in 85. This came out in 87, so I was 14. So I maybe was 8th grade or 9th grade. Either middle school or first year of high school. I think what I'm going to do here at first is I'm going to kind of focus on getting gems because I need to buy some stuff. Maybe go see if I can get that sword now that in the second dungeon the guy asked me if I had the sword yet. Now, I haven't played this game in 30 years plus, so I don't remember. I mean, I remember a lot because it's just such a memorable game. But and I'm not gonna look up how to do a lot of stuff just because when I was that age, we didn't have the internet, and it was very difficult to look up information on games. At this point, when Zelda came out, unlike the Atari 2600. Magazines had been more established, so we could go to the mall and maybe get a magazine and look it up. I don't think there's really any game stores yet. Oh, there was, but not major ones like GameStop today. I'm going to try to get gems here. So Zelda for us, we got our Atari 2600 in 1980. And, it was the Atari. You look at some of the games today and you wonder how you could possibly play them. I mean, most of them were just terrible. And you never knew what you were going to get with those Atari games because, contrary to popular belief with younger generations today, we did not have a lot of money. No Gen Xer did. So, when you bought a game, you didn't know anybody who knew the game. There was no way to get information about the game, and the game themselves, boxes, didn't even have images. So you never knew you got, and that's why Atari kind of sucked, and most of the games sucked. And then Nintendo came out in 1985 and is just something on the order of magnitude different, starting with Mario Brothers. So in 87 when this came out, I was doing pretty good for a Nintendo owner. I probably had 10 games. This game was, when this came out, it was just something different. Like several other key games back then, you just don't see this today. Like, say, Mario Brothers, Metroid, Zelda. Jeez, I should pay more attention. Yeah, so this game came out, and of course it came out with a black box, or I mean a gold box. just completely differentiated itself. And it had this save game feature, which is the first time ever. It's just unheard of. Just a technology like, wow, I can save a game. And then, you know, you just started playing this game. It just is something different. You look back at it when it came out, and the complexity of this, the technology there's nothing like it. Considering what little they had to work with in space back then. The size and scope of it was also just unheard of. Like, you just felt like, oh wow. Oh, I think that was the cave I needed to get into. The size and scope of it, like, it's hard to explain to some younger generations who grew up with much better games from the get-go. But when you played this, it is like the length of it was like buying, say I played Baldur's Gate and put 100 hours into it, and that seemed like a really long game. Well, this game, I think you could probably beat in 10-20 hours. So that size back then was unheard of. Some MMOs, I mean, I think I put 10,000 hours into Amazon's New World for the same price we probably paid for these games back then. A little bit less, obviously. But it seems like this game was like you just played it forever. You know, the connection it has with the joystick for this era was amazing compared to, you know, we were playing Ataris and that joystick was absolutely terrible. I mean, it worked when you first got it, it was really good. But very quickly, by just playing it, the plastic contacts wore out, or you're a dumb kid and you get angry when you're playing a game and you yank the joystick over too far and you ruin the joystick. And so playing games was very difficult. Sometimes, like, say, up and to the right barely worked when you're playing a game like Pitfall. But then you get this new Nintendo and the joystick. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was amazingly sharp. I remember getting blisters playing these games. That little square controller with two buttons. I'll apologize again that it's been over 2 weeks since my Vegas vacation, and I'm still suffering symptoms of a cold that I got in Vegas. Every time I go to Vegas, I seem to get sick nowadays. It's been 2 weeks, and it's still kind of in my nasal cavity, so I probably sound nasally, so I apologize. Try to keep that off the camera, off the mic. Yeah, so Zelda came out, and everybody got it pretty quick. Just an amazing game. Still is. It's amazing that 40 years later, I can play this game and actually have fun. Oh, I do get the sword now. That'll make it a little bit easier. I'll go try to find Dungeon 3 again. Maybe buy some arrows for the bow. Jeez. You know, I'm using an Xbox controller right now, and oh, wow, I don't remember this one. And it's not as good as the Nintendo controller. I mean, it's wireless. Damn it, I wanted that fairy, and I accidentally walked into this. This ain't enough to talk. Actually, you know what? I want to see if this sword... Yeah, I can take out that guy now. Absolutely love this game. Didn't like the second one so much. You know, so you know, this came out and a lot of other really good Nintendo games. Oh, that's right, I can kill this guy. Yeah, so this Xbox controller is definitely harder than the regular Nintendo joystick. It's just not as precise. You know, having that direct connection controller. So even back in the mid-'80s like this, jeez, is this thing gonna stop? I forgot where I was going with that, but it is much nicer now with this new sword that I can hit some of these with one hit. I know I should spend more time trying to remember where I can find some of these hidden entrances. Like there might be one in here if I get the candle out. I need the newer candle because this candle is like one use and you have to go in and out of the zone to use it again. I'm probably just wasted my time. But this kind of secret stuff in these games, all the secret entrances you can bomb or get into like this was pretty new stuff. Kind of the hidden complexities of the game. Oh, you know what? I did get the raft, and I haven't used it yet. So this is probably a dungeon too high for me. Let's see. I need number 3. This is 4. I wonder if we can do 3 without 4. We might as well try, right? Like this dungeon style here, going through the dungeon doors, just was just incredible. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. Now for me, you know, Nintendo's like this even back then we're still kind of considered for kids, but you know I was still a kid back then. Oh, what are these? Huh? I don't remember these at all. I did eventually get the Super Nintendo, which I think came out when I was a senior in high school. The Nintendo 64. That was the last. That's the last Nintendo I bought until my kids were older, and they went through the whole Nintendo chain from Game Boys to Wii's, Wii 2, Switch 1. Now they're basically out of college, so they're not really playing these anymore. Kind of. My daughter has the Switch 1. She's going for a master's degree, and she has it with her. Let's see here if I can find my way. If there's anything in here, I guess not. I moved to Sega pretty quick around this time too. Had a Sega because of Phantasy Star. That game was just another game like this, different role-playing game, but in the Final Fantasy type realm of combat where your strategy, you're standing in front of the monsters, and each monster and player gets to choose. And in that same vein, I was also playing the first Final Fantasies and Dragon Warriors that came out on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo at this time, that were like that also, right? All of them were groundbreaking. Just, you'd never seen it before. And then at the same time, so the Sega Master System with the Genesis, and then I actually bought the Sega CD. But in '86 or so, my mom somehow afforded a full Commodore 64 setup. She needed like a word processor. I think we needed it for school too at this point. And she found some kind of deal for like $1,000, which had like a small, we're talking like a 12-inch color screen for it. It came with the dot matrix printer and the floppy drive. And I moved pretty quickly into computer games over consoles, except for, the most popular ones. And played that Commodore 64 pretty heavy for a long time. Some of my favorite games. I'd like to, at some point, make some retro game videos on the Commodore 64 once I'm done with Nintendo. I mean, I'm still kind of doing Atari 2600s, and I've been doing this Zelda for the 40th anniversary. But I'd like to do some Commodore 64. You think of what Gen X, I mean, as an older Gen X, or what we've seen in computers technology, especially retro video games. I mean, we started with games like Atari Combat, the little tank game, and are now, playing games like Baldur's Gate 3. Like, one of the kind of jokes I make in the Atari series, every video is you know, what's more powerful than the Atari 2600, and like a USB-C cable, just the cable, is more powerful than the Atari 2600, literally a cable. Geez, they are not giving me any healing. I don't remember it being so. See, with this Xbox, it keeps it's just not very smooth and precise. So yeah, Gen X, we've seen everything. I don't remember what those do. Don't they like... Wow, I still had to hit it 4 times. I need another, need to get healed here. I don't remember, what the heck is... Jesus. What is that? I don't remember what that is. Ladder? Yeah, so we've seen a lot. The very first games to the most latest games. Oh. I don't remember that at all. Wow. One more hit and I'm out. Not a single heart. I remember getting more hearts in the past. I don't know why. Oh, okay. Jeez. Oh, that was a bad time. I guess I could have pulled out... Oh, I probably need to buy something. We'll see. But 40 years later, playing the latest technology, most efficient code ever created that we'd seen in a game today. And oddly enough, 40 years later, this works. I said in my other video, I'll say it again. There's the first period of 3D that started with like the Nintendo 64. Like, I didn't like the Nintendo 64. I didn't like 3D games. Like, so, you know, between consoles like the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, so 3D started coming out, what, in late 1990s? So, like, by then, consoles like this had, and Commodore 64, and even the Amiga had been out by that time. There's just this long progression of more and more advanced 2D games like this, right? And they just got more and more complicated and fun and technical. Strategic games like, say, Civilization and things like that were out. And then the game industry shifted to this 3D model that was not ready, in my opinion. Like Mario 64, I hated. I mean, I beat it, but I hated that game because it just was so clunky, and the 3D was clunky. And game design that tried to do 3D from the mid 90s to the 2005 to 2010 even, 10 to 15 year period. It went from these amazing, complicated, awesome 2D games, I think Final Fantasy, to really crappy, like, the games were they were dog crap. Like, just because they were focused on 3D, and the 3D wasn't even very good. And the game was worse. And the technology for 3D was horrible. Really, technology for 3D didn't come about until the 3DFX chips. Okay, so I found Dungeon Level 3. The 3DFX chips, the Voodoo chips before NVIDIA. You started getting the first 3D chips in computers, and then that allowed the acceleration of 3D, and then 3D started coming around. Like they did it right in some MMOs back there. Like EverQuest was amazing, and then Dark Age of Camelot, and then World of Warcraft. That's the kind of the era where it started. 3D started being pretty good, and then the game started getting more complicated because they solved the challenge of 3D. But by then I was out of consoles, although I did have PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. I think I had 3 PlayStation 3s at one point because I was using them for home theater, and a PlayStation 4, an Xbox One, an Xbox 360, 2 Xboxes, an Xbox 360 and Xbox One. But by that point I was way more into computer games. And as you got older, of course, Nintendo, like this, was seen more as a kid system. There we go. Okay, I think I've already been through most of this, and I died at the end. Oh, okay, so with my new sword, these used to break into small ones, and now they don't. You know, you had cool computer games like the Ultima series, the first 3D games that really kicked butt, like Wing Commander. It's interesting, which is now, what's it called? The $1 billion fiasco so far. What's it called? Think of it right now. What's his name? The guy who made, I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. The guy who made Wing Commanders. But Wing Commander, the X. Okay. Damn it. Holy cow. Oh. I don't remember what. I probably need arrows. The Star Wars Starfighter games, 3D Wing Commanders, and the first what was that D&D game? Eye of the Beholder, 3D, amazing 3D games on the computer. Yeah, so going back to the Commodore in this era, which is, for me, like, I probably had the Commodore by the time this came out. And, you know, I was playing, like, games like Ultima. Think about how complex Ultima is. Even though Richard Garriott turned into a absolute con artist with his. If you ever got into the game Shroud of the Avatar, that game was nothing more than some weird money grab. Insane for someone who put his whole reputation on the line to do it. Haven't heard much from him. Last thing I heard about that guy, he was gonna create a game based on what were those called? The crypto, not crypto, but supply chain images stuff. What the fuck were those called? And that never came about because the dude's just looking to be a con artist. The Wizardry series, Commodore games. You know, the Commodore games weren't as smooth as Nintendo games, and just not as well designed in most cases, but you could, you know, they're computer games, you could get significant more complexity. Like, I think one Ultima game had like 5 floppies to it, so every time you moved into a town, you had to put a new floppy in. When you entered a battle, you had to put a floppy in, and, you know, wait. But it could be much larger and much more complex, more graphics. But Nintendo always, at this point, always had the much better design gameplay. Like look at Mario in 1985 and how smooth and exact that game is. You know, like I was saying, the Atari, like you're lucky that the joystick even worked for a game like Pitfall. But some of the cool fighter games in Commodore 64, I think Ace Combat 1, I played that game forever. It was just amazing for the time. But this is what we had back then. Literally, this is what we had. I wonder if I could kill that thing with bombs. I'd like to stay away from it. Those fireballs, I forgot where to buy arrows. And so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to kill this thing again. This might have been a waste of time. And then there was the Commodore. I think by 88, I had my first like 1200 baud modem, and I was connecting to BBSs, right? First internet. First online role-playing games. Legend of the Red Dragon. Sure, it was text, but you could play with thousands of other people. VGA Planets was an amazing game. A lot of weird stuff on those BBSs, though. Damn it, I just lost the sword. Oh well, let's just see what we can do. Oh, it moves faster, that's not good. Wow, I did it. And then after the Commodore 64, I actually got an Amiga 500 in 1990, my senior year. So why was like the Commodore 64 so good, right? for one thing, we had a store in my area called Computer Mart, and they rented Commodore and Amiga games. So they had everything. You could go in there with your, allowance. I think you could rent a game for 3 days for $5. You just take that game home, take the manual and the protection if it had hardware protection, copy it on a copier machine, copy the manual, take your floppy disk, there was always you'd always have a couple cracker software to hack the copyright protection. You copy it to floppy, and then you had the game. I mean, I did that even into the PC era because they had PC games. I think my first install of Windows 3.11 was, or 3.1, actually 3, and then 3.11. I rented it from them and installed it on my computer. That place stayed in business a long time. So I had hundreds of Commodore 64 games because of that. So the Amiga dumped out pretty quick. The floppy drive died on it. And so I think after graduation in high school, right before college, I bought a computer. And buying computers back then was very weird. Like, the only place we could find them is there's this place called Smith Home Furnishings that sold as a furniture place, but they had a computer section and they had lots of computers. And the first computer I bought was an Easy Data 386/16, no floppy drive. We actually had an 8088 at one point because my brother got it somehow cheap, and it came with DOS like 3 something that booted with floppies, and it had a word processor. Because he just never liked this Commodore 64 for some reason. But he's an older Gen Xer, the type of my era who never really got into computers and never really figured out how to use them. But my first one was the 386/16, and I paid a lot of money for that, probably $1,500. And the first thing I did was pay $200 for at Computer Mart, which sold rented the PCs, the Commodore 64, Amiga, and PC games for $200, 40 meg hard drive. And there was actually nothing that really installed to it yet. I considered it like a place where I could back up my floppy disks, the important ones at first. And then DOS 6.1 came out, and I installed DOS to it, and then soon Windows 95 later on, right? But I also upgraded that. I put the 386DX chip in it, so it was a 386DX16 at that point. And I upgraded the RAM, like it was like 256K. It is like in EEPROM form, just weird. But it allowed me to mess around with EMM 386 more and play the better games coming out. Not that I had that very long, because I immediately, bought a 486 25, and then from there on, I mean, I was buying a new PC from 1990 to today. I've had most of the time 2 PCs at one time, sometimes up to 4. Built them all myself, you know, pretty much buying a new one every year at that point because of Moore's Law. So I had every CPU and part known to man, hard drive size since 1990. Went through everything, 46s. After that, what? Pentium 1s, Pentium 2s, Pentium 3s, Pentiums. All that stuff. I remember I was in my, it was like 1993, I was in computer science class, and the Pentium 100 megahertz just came out, and our professor, who's just this know-it-all, creepy, just hardcore dude, like there was 50 people in our class for C, and I got the highest grade in the class with like a B minus, because he's just an asshole. But he told us that the Pentium 100 megahertz would be the fastest chip Intel would ever make. They'll never make a faster chip because it was already frying eggs on top of it. So I guess he never figured out or couldn't rationalize the fact that they could put fans on top of the Intel chips, which soon happened. But back then, that Pentium 100 was like the first. I had a Pentium 90. I never had the 100. I had the one with like the floating point errors where they sent me a new one. But yeah, you didn't have to have a fan on those things yet. And after that, you started having to put fans on CPUs. But as an older Gen Xer, I was into these computers. That Commodore 64 got me into computers. And nobody my age was into that stuff. They just weren't. I mean, it was our senior year, my buddy and I, who also graduated from university with me with a degree in computer science, right? Back then it was C++, right before Pascal came out, and they were kind of teaching that. Our senior year of high school, they got the first like Mac in, and him and I would go to the library and dink around on it. No one else would. So then 1991, just we kind of the computer nerds, like using Commodore 64s and playing on the Macs in the library. We were kind of those nerds, like, look at these nerds, they're never gonna do anything. Guess what? The nerds eventually took over, right? We got the last laugh. Not that I was really nerdy. I mean, my junior year of high school, I was benching 270 pounds and squatting over 300. So yeah, most of my older Gen Xers didn't grow up with this technology. Sure, we had games, but they weren't using computers. That's why most of my friends, my whole life, I'm the guy who has to go set up their router at their house. They just don't know. Surprised they even know how to use a phone. You know, I've spent 30 years in infrastructure IT. Started in IT support, went to network administration and data center administration. Not a lot of people, older Gen Xers, were doing that. And if they were there, you know, we were the true nerdy types. Understand, this is back in the day when you had to know your stuff. There was no internet. to look stuff up. I mean, if you were supporting a server room back then, they weren't called data centers. You just had to know how to run Unix on an AS400 and Windows Server, Windows NT Server. Nowadays, well, nowadays it's completely different again, but that got replaced pretty quick by, you know, being able to find solutions on the internet, and now with ChatGPT and AI, you can just find any answer you want. Any IT issue, much less it tell you exactly how to, like, if I had that when VMware first came out and you're building data centers, like, just ask ChatGPT. I'm already almost dead. Ask ChatGPT how to configure your VMware clusters, and plink plink does it for you. Come on, give me a heart. I don't want to have to run back here. There's one. It's not enough. Ugh. I guess these guys don't hurt you. Already been in there. Well, I need a fairy or I'm dead. Oh. Well, I gotta say that this is another thing about getting older. My reflexes are not what they used to be, even though in games like Amazon New World, I did quite well in PvP. Very twitchy game. But you wouldn't find me playing games like Call of Duty anymore. Like just the carpal tunnel alone. Something that we suffer from. I suspect starting now, since, you know, honestly, boomers never really got into video games. Yeah, sure, some did, I know, but I don't know any boomers who ever played video games, except for the first arcade games. Maybe they were playing Asteroids and Space Invaders like us, because that was pretty young for us. I mean, I was playing Space Invaders when I was like 7 years old. I'm just gonna die for sure. This kind of this Xbox controller is not as, I find that for me it's inaccurate. Like, I can't turn like quick in a twitchy manner in this game. At times, like, I run up to a bat to stab with my sword, and it's just like there's just that momentary latency where it just hits me. play here for a little bit.
You